Under the golden Arizona sun, where the land stretches endlessly and secrets hide beneath desert dust, a family once built a dream called Coyote Pass. It was meant to be their legacy, their shared promise of togetherness. But like so many stories that begin with hope, this one slowly turned into heartbreak. What started as unity became division. What was built on trust began to crumble under lies, manipulation, and quiet betrayals that no one saw coming. For years, fans watched the Sister Wives family through their screens, believing in their image of unity. One husband, multiple wives, a family working together to build something extraordinary. But behind the carefully edited smiles and the scripted moments of faith stood real emotions, real money, and real consequences. And at the center of it all, Cody Brown, the self-proclaimed patriarch, and Robyn, the wife who once seemed like the peacekeeper but became, in the eyes of many, the reason it all fell apart. It started with trust, the kind that takes years to build but only a single secret to destroy. Janelle, one of Cody's longtime wives, had always believed in the family dream. She worked hard, saved carefully, and tried to be fair. She gave, not just emotionally, but financially, investing in the family's future, in Cody's promises, and in the illusion that someday, every wife would have her share of the dreamland they called Coyote Pass. But what Janelle didn't know was that her trust would be used against her. She would later discover that the money she had given, money meant to help the family, had quietly become the foundation of a very different dream. One that belonged not to the family, but to Cody and Robyn. Robyn was different from the other wives. From the beginning, she carried herself as if she understood Cody better than anyone else. She called their finances family money, a phrase that made it sound shared, equal, and pure. But as the years went by, that term began to feel hollow. When Cody and Robyn needed money for a down payment on their house, they didn't have enough. So they turned to Janelle and Meri for help. It was supposed to be temporary, just a helping hand, but it became something much bigger, something legally risky, and something emotionally irreversible. For those unfamiliar with the mortgage process, large financial gifts can't just appear without documentation. When money is given to help someone qualify for a home loan, every dollar must be accounted for. And if that money isn't truly a gift, if there's an expectation it will be repaid, then it's not a gift at all. It's a loan. And loans must be declared. Failing to do so could mean something serious. Mortgage fraud. The show never used that word, but the implications were there. Fans began to question the inconsistencies. Why did Robyn and Cody insist the money was family money? Why was Janelle unable to get her funds back when the time came? And why, years later, did Robyn refuse to sit down and have a conversation with the others about Coyote Pass, the very land that symbolized their shared future? To understand the depth of this tension, you have to look at how Robyn handled confrontation. Or rather, avoided it. She often described herself as a conflict avoider, someone who didn't want to engage in drama. But for those who watched closely, her avoidance wasn't just about peacekeeping. It was about control. Because when you refuse to confront, you also refuse to be held accountable. When the family gathered to discuss money, land, and ownership, Robyn always seemed to have a reason not to participate. She claimed the conversations were too toxic, too stressful, even unsafe. But the truth is, she had faced much worse before. Shouting matches, emotional outbursts, tears, and accusations. And she had never once walked away. So why now? Why, when the topic was money and property, did she suddenly find it too dangerous to be in the same room? Some say it's because being in that room would have forced her to face Janelle, Christine, and Meri, three women who had all in their own ways been hurt by the same man and by the same system. Together, they might have finally confronted the truth, that the dream they were sold wasn't shared at all. Cody, ever the master of persuasion, often painted himself as the victim of circumstance. A man burdened by ungrateful wives, misunderstood by viewers, and caught in an emotional storm not of his making. But his own words have betrayed him. Over the years, he's admitted to things that, under the surface, sound dangerously close to confessions of financial wrongdoing. He's talked openly about paying back debts that were supposed to be gifts, and about shifting money around between family members, acts that, if true, could raise serious questions about legality and ethics. But no one has ever stopped him. No authorities, no producers, no questions from the network. And maybe that's what makes this story even sadder. It's not just about betrayal between family members. It's about a system that allowed it to happen in plain sight, on national television, without consequence. Janelle once believed she was part of something bigger, a family that would grow, build, and thrive together. Instead, she found herself pushed to the margins, her money gone, her trust broken, and her faith in the family dream shattered. She later admitted that getting that money back was a lost cause. It was a dead issue, she said, words that carried the weight of both financial loss and emotional exhaustion. But perhaps the cruelest part of this story is how the loss was disguised as love. Cody and Robyn called it a gift, a word that sounds generous, heartfelt, and pure. But behind that word was a contract, a legal paper trail that turned Janelle's generosity into a liability. If she were to demand the money back, she could risk implicating herself. Because once something is declared a gift for mortgage purposes, it's binding. There's no turning back. And so, Janelle stayed silent. Not because she didn't care, but because she couldn't fight back. The law was not on her side. The man she trusted had outmaneuvered her, not with love, but with paperwork. What was once a family dream had turned into a legal labyrinth. Coyote Pass wasn't just land anymore. It was a symbol of promises broken, of wives betrayed, and of a man who had convinced everyone that love and loyalty could be measured in dollars and deeds. In the next part of this story, we'll look deeper into the alleged financial maneuvers, the refinancing, and the reasons why, even with everything out in the open, Cody and Robyn might never face accountability. Because in this family, secrets don't just stay hidden. They're signed, notarized, and buried under the desert soil of Coyote Pass. As the desert winds swept across Coyote Pass, the dream that once bound the Brown family together had long since eroded. What was once a promise of unity had become a battlefield of silence and mistrust. The land that was supposed to symbolize togetherness had turned into the backdrop for heartbreak, deceit, and quiet financial devastation. And at the center of it all stood Cody and Robyn, the couple who claimed to be building a future while, in truth, tearing apart the remnants of what little family remained. By the time 2025 rolled around, the cracks in their story were impossible to ignore. Viewers who had once seen Cody as the ideal patriarch now saw something else. A man grasping for control, shifting narratives to protect his image, and spinning his words to make himself look like the victim of everyone else's mistakes. And Robyn, the wife he defended with a kind of obsessive loyalty, seemed to exist in a world of her own making, where accountability was always just out of reach, and the word dangerous was used to describe every conversation that made her uncomfortable. For years, the biggest question fans asked was simple: what really happened to the money? Janelle had sold her home, freeing up nearly $100,000. She believed that money would go toward the family dream: land, homes, security. Instead, it vanished into a financial fog, reappearing in the form of Cody and Robyn's lavish new home. And when Janelle asked for clarity, all she got was silence. Robyn insisted that the funds were family money. She claimed it wasn't about ownership or individual gain, that everything they did was for the greater good. But that claim began to unravel when details about their mortgage surfaced. To qualify for a home loan, the couple had needed money for a down payment. Money they didn't have. So they accepted funds from Janelle, calling it a gift. Now, in the world of mortgages, the term gift carries immense weight. It's not just a word, it's a legal definition. If someone gives you money to help you buy a home, and you promise to pay it back, it's not a gift, it's a loan. And failing to declare that loan to your lender can be considered fraud. That's why lenders require gift letters, documents stating that the money is freely given with no expectation of repayment. And that's where things get complicated. Cody and Robyn signed documents declaring that the money from Janelle and Meri was a gift. But over the years, both have spoken publicly about plans to repay that money. Statements that directly contradict what those gift letters were supposed to mean. If they truly paid it back, that could mean they misled the bank when they first applied for the mortgage. If they didn't, then they effectively took $100,000 from Janelle under the false promise of fairness. Either way, someone loses. And it wasn't going to be Cody. In one episode, Cody insists that he settled the debt with Janelle earlier in the year, claiming that she even said everything was fair and square. But viewers noticed something odd. Janelle was never shown confirming that statement. Instead, she quietly told her daughter that the money was a gift and that there was no way to get it back. "It's a dead issue," she said, the words flat and resigned. That contrast told its own story. Cody's confidence, Janelle's silence. Two sides of the same truth, and one of them, without question, was lying. For many, this wasn't just about money. It was about years of manipulation, about a woman who had given her loyalty and her savings to a man who treated both as disposable. It was about how love can blur the lines between generosity and exploitation. Cody and Robyn, for their part, tried to act as though everything was above board. But financial patterns tell stories too. The couple's home, purchased in 2019, carried a hefty $1.6 million mortgage. Then, in 2021, they refinanced. To the average person, that might seem ordinary, but to those who understood the timing, it looked like an attempt to erase the original paper trail, to wash away the traces of that gift money. Because once a new mortgage replaces the old, those original declarations, those signed gift letters, can quietly disappear into history. Still, no matter how clean the paperwork looks, the truth has a way of resurfacing. Cody's own words on camera were enough to raise eyebrows. He spoke casually about paying Janelle back, about settling debts, about fairness, things that simply shouldn't exist in the case of a true gift. To some, those statements were emotional confessions. To others, they sounded like admissions of something much more serious: misrepresentation, deception, and manipulation. But Cody seemed unbothered. After all, he had always been untouchable, the man who bent the truth but never broke the rules, at least not enough for anyone to stop him. He had been the architect of the family's structure, the leader of their faith, the man whose voice carried the final word. And now, even as everything fell apart around him, he still held the one thing that mattered most: control. Robyn played her part perfectly. Whenever conflict arose, she retreated behind tears and trembling words, painting herself as fragile, misunderstood, unsafe. To those who saw through it, her behavior was a form of emotional theater, designed not to express pain, but to deflect it. Because when someone claims to feel unsafe in a room full of people who simply want answers, it becomes more than a fear of confrontation. It becomes a weapon. By portraying herself as the victim, Robyn shifted Cody's focus from accountability to protection. She made herself someone he needed to defend, not question. And so, every time the other wives tried to confront her, Cody would step in, shield her, and silence them. In that dynamic, Robyn never had to answer for anything, and Cody never had to face the truth. It's a cycle that's all too common. Emotional manipulation disguised as fragility, power hidden behind tears. To outsiders, it looked like Robyn was avoiding conflict. But inside that family, it was clear she was avoiding responsibility. Meanwhile, Janelle was left in a financial and emotional limbo. The money she gave was gone, the house she dreamed of was never built, and the man she trusted had rewritten the past. She couldn't demand repayment without risking exposure, not just for Cody and Robyn, but for herself. Because if the money truly wasn't a gift, that would make her part of the same lie. That's the cruel genius of manipulation. It traps its victims in silence. So Janelle stayed quiet, perhaps hoping time would bring closure. But time has a way of deepening old wounds. The more she watched Cody and Robyn live comfortably in their new home, the very home her money helped buy, the more it became clear she hadn't been part of the family's dream. She had been used to fund theirs. And as Robyn and Cody sold off Coyote Pass, cutting the last financial ties to the other wives, that dream officially ended. What was once a family vision had become a transaction. The women who had once shared one husband, one faith, and one dream were now separated by property lines and paperwork. By the end of it, Janelle had lost $100,000 and nearly 2 decades of trust. Christine had walked away long before, choosing peace over chaos. Meri was left drifting in emotional exile. And Robyn, she had everything: the house, the husband, the narrative. But what she didn't have was the truth. In the next part of this exposé, we'll uncover what really happened after the cameras stopped rolling. How Cody and Robyn's decisions not only fractured a family, but exposed a deeper problem with the system that allowed them to thrive. Because sometimes, the most shocking betrayals aren't just about money or marriage, they're about how far people will go to protect the illusion of perfection, even as everything around them burns. When the cameras stopped rolling and the headlines moved on, what was left of the Brown family wasn't a family anymore. It was a trail of emotional wreckage, broken trust, and unanswered questions about what really happened to the money, the land, and the love that once held everything together. Cody and Robyn may have walked away, appearing as the victors of this story, living in their million-dollar home, far removed from the chaos. But behind the polished doors and manicured lawns, there was something hollow. The dream that once brought 21 people together had become a symbol of loss. And for those who had given everything to that dream, Janelle, Christine, and Meri, the silence left behind was deafening. By 2025, the cracks in Cody and Robyn's foundation were no longer invisible. What had once looked like the final couple standing now resembled two people desperately clinging to a version of the truth that no longer existed. Their home, once described as a safe haven, had become a gilded cage. Financially secure, yes, but emotionally fractured, defensive, and haunted by the weight of everything they had done to get there. Because the truth has a strange way of resurfacing, not through confessions, but through patterns. And in the months following the family's separation, those patterns became impossible to ignore. Neighbors began to notice something unsettling. Robyn, once seen as the shy, devoted wife, now rarely left the house. Cody, who used to film and travel, spent his days in quiet frustration, ranting about loyalty and betrayal to anyone who would listen. And while fans debated who was right or wrong, the people who had once called him husband were quietly rebuilding their lives. Christine found joy again. New love, new family, new peace. Janelle, though financially scarred, found a strength that had long been buried under Cody's control. And Meri, the woman who once waited years for Cody's attention, finally realized she didn't need it anymore. But even as the wives found closure, questions about the money refused to fade. Rumors began swirling that Cody and Robyn were trying to sell parts of their Coyote Pass property, the same land they'd once said would be home to the entire family. Some documents suggested that their names alone appeared on the title. That meant any profit from those sales would go directly to them, not to the wives who helped pay for the land in the first place. And that, for many fans, was the final betrayal. It wasn't just emotional manipulation anymore. It wasn't just spiritual abuse. It was financial exploitation, the quiet kind that hides behind legal paperwork and family trust. Because in the end, the only thing Cody ever truly protected wasn't his family, but his control over the family's money. Janelle's $100,000 contribution? Gone. Meri's business ventures? Dismissed. Christine's investments? Lost in the shuffle. And every time someone asked for answers, Cody had a new story, a new excuse, a new reason why he was the one who'd been wronged. But what Cody and Robyn didn't anticipate was how much people were watching, how every word, every inconsistency, every shifting detail in their story was being recorded, analyzed, and compared. Fans began to notice contradictions in their interviews. One year saying the money was a gift, another year claiming it was repaid, then later implying there was never any money at all. Those contradictions didn't just expose hypocrisy, they hinted at something much darker, the deliberate rewriting of history. Because when people start altering their story to fit the present, it's rarely because the past changed. It's because they have something to hide. As the show's new seasons aired, Robyn grew quieter, her tears less convincing, her excuses thinner. The "I feel unsafe" narrative began to crumble under the weight of its own repetition. And Cody, once the charismatic leader, now came off as a man drowning in bitterness. Defensive, angry, obsessed with control over a family that no longer existed. He had become a stranger in the story he built. What started as a tale of faith and unity had transformed into a cautionary legend. How the hunger for control can destroy everything it touches. How emotional manipulation can masquerade as devotion. And how silence, especially the kind that follows financial exploitation, can be more powerful than any confrontation. Behind the scenes, some close to the Browns began to whisper that legal troubles could still follow. If anyone chose to pursue the matter, if documents surfaced showing that the gifted money had been repaid, or that the mortgage paperwork contained false claims, it could raise serious legal questions. Mortgage fraud, after all, isn't about emotion. It's about numbers, signatures, and intent. But even without a courtroom, the court of public opinion had already spoken. Cody's reputation was in ruins. Robyn's tears had lost their power. The once beloved polygamist family that captivated millions had become a symbol of what happens when love turns into control and faith becomes a tool of manipulation. Still, there was one thing even Cody couldn't rewrite: the emotional truth that every ex-wife carried in her silence. Christine, Janelle, and Meri had all, in their own way, chosen to walk away from the illusion. They had learned that peace wasn't found in holding onto what's broken. It's found in letting go of what was never real to begin with. And so, as Robyn and Cody sat in their house built on borrowed dreams, surrounded by reminders of everything they took from others, the irony became inescapable. They had won the war, but lost the family. They had the house, the land, the image, but they didn't have the trust, the love, or the legacy they once promised to protect. In the end, Sister Wives stopped being a story about faith or family. It became a story about survival, about women who finally saw through the manipulation and chose freedom over loyalty, about how truth, no matter how long it takes, always finds its way out. And for Cody and Robyn, that truth is simple. You can build a house on a lie, but you can't make it a home. Because no matter how carefully you rewrite the past, the people you hurt will always remember the truth. And eventually, so will the world.